thank you everyone for joining us. Really glad to see everyone. And I know we have a few folks, sounds like there is some unfortunate traffic on 97.
Yeah.
So we have a few folks that are stuck in that, but they're on their way. But we do have a forum with 6 attendees, voting members. So we can go ahead and get started. And I'm really glad to see Ganica again. So yes, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and pretty straightforward agenda today is we're going to go over the public comments and rezoning applications. So with that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So
Keisha, and seconded by Ganica. All right, and any objections? No, perfect. Okay, great. And then zoning status and around the May 11th SAC meeting notes. Were there any additions, revisions, changes? No? Okay, motion to approve those meeting notes. Keisha? Second by Kimmy. Okay, great. Any objections to them? No? Okay, great. Perfect. All right, so with that, we're going to go through, we're going to review the draft zoning map, public comments. Really grateful for public citizens that took the time to make comments. Very, very helpful. And all of the SAC members were given them ahead of time and reviewed, but we'll go through them as well here. But that's, once again, just really grateful for all the citizen engagement. That's what makes this process work really well. And then in regards to the rezoning applications, we will need to make formal motions and have formal votes on them. So we'll need to have a motion to approve or deny the second, and then, we can have discussion, and then a vote on those, but we can't approve them unless we have a formal vote on that. All right, so with that, I'll turn it over to Mark. You kind of go over next steps, Mark.
Yep, so the public comment tool was available for roughly a month. From that, we received 38 comments on any changes to the zoning that we identified and worked through during our March meetings. So just to sort of generalize some of the comments, there was support for bringing some of the properties that are in non-conforming status because of the rezoning into a conforming status. So for example, the auto repair center on Maryland 198, that got upzoned to a C4 so that they're now conforming. So there were a few comments left for that. There were a couple comments on requests to expand OS zoning districts to other properties. And when we look at the OS open space zoning district, we apply it to those dedicated floodplain parcels or any other parcels that are protected in perpetuity. So for example, in the current zoning map, you might see some wavy lines and some split zone parcels, and that OS zoning was based on old FEMA floodplain maps. And so to protect those areas, the zoning is not the tool to use for that. It's the requirements that are in the subdivision section of the code. So we appreciate the comment, but we have a very strict definition of how we're applying the OS zone with this update. There were a couple other comments left about historic resources and the need to protect those. We'll get into those as we actually go through some of the applications and some of the comments where they were clustered, for example, on Clark Road in the southern area. One thing we'll need to make sure that we do with when we actually draft the region plan is make very clear what development policy areas are, what planned land use is, and zoning. So in some situations, we received comments of changing certain zoning, even though what was proposed wasn't what the commenter was commenting on. So that's a note for us to just make sure that we clarify very explicitly what those are and how they're different from each other. And then there are comments that we receive about the community wants this, the community wants that, and again, just for the committee's sort of benefit, just understand that we need to be careful about when there are comments and it's a generalization of what the community wants based from, say, one or two people's comments. So unfortunately, we do only have 38 comments. We didn't get the whole community's feedback, but just take that into consideration. And then there are specific areas where there were these groupings along Clark Road, Wright Road, where there are the existing townhomes, and then across the street, there is the recommendation to upzone that to R15. There were a few comments there, and then in the Jessup area as well, and we'll get into those in more detail. So that was the public comment side. On the application side, we received 11 applications. They were pretty straightforward. There was this grouping you can see in the dots in the Annapolis Junction area. A few folks wanted it to revert or stay as W2. So really maintaining those industrial zoned areas. And then there were some more like marginal requests of zone areas from R1 to R2 or W1 to W2. So the geographical breakdown by community is Jessup had 5. There's 1 in Hanover, 4 in Annapolis Junction, 1 down in Laurel. Okay, so if you're ready, we can jump right into, again, we'll address the applications as well as the substantive comments that were provided by the public. Okay, so we can look at the first one here, just to sort of give you an idea. We've got to code them internally because by the time we get to the end of 9 regions, and I don't know how many communities we have then throughout those 9 regions, we want to be able to easily sort these. So CZ is comp zoning, R2 is region 2, JSP is Jessup, and this is application number 1. So I'll refer to it as just application number 1 for Jessup. So this is in the northern Race Road area up by Maryland 100. I'm providing a screenshot here. We've got additional maps where we can pop on other layers if you want to look and dig a little deeper into these requests. But this application is the area is currently zoned W1, and they're requesting to upzone to W2.
Is it possible to show us that, like an aerial of what this?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is that zoning map that you're showing the proposed zoning layer?
This is, yeah. Yep. So application 1, if you can see where my cursor is, are these 2 parcels here. And so, right, you've got this established W1 business park to the east and a couple more here to the south. And again, if I were to flip back here, there's R1 zoning to the west.
What's the acreage?
I think it's settled with sellers.
I don't think it is either. I was a little bit concerned because the OPZ staff said the recommendation was an XDE.
For Jessup 1.
And I think it says to keep it W1.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know what happens to my side toolbar. Sam, can you pull up geocortex and get that measured? This is really slow. I don't know what happens to my toolbar.
Yeah.
So again, W1 is your typical office business park type of use. W2 starts to elevate it into contractors' yards and sort of these sort of lower nuisance type of uses.
As for W1, I think it just.
Yeah, it fits in the character of what else is around there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, W2.
So Joe, we can do these individually if you want to.
Yeah.
Everybody seems comfortable. I'll let you start the voting.
Yeah, I'll try to rush it.
Contractor yards and that use is not necessarily a bad use, right? I mean, we all want Class A office and that kind of zoning, but would the W2 be a bad use? Would that contractor yard? There's got to be intention of the applicant, right?
Well,
Curious to know.
they said they have a lot of wetlands and it's better, no perking and no public sewer close by. And they're saying a contractor yard and nursery is better, but you can't do that.
Why would we be opposed to that?
Because I think it's a nuisance use, as he stated before, and we already have enough of that, in my opinion. I've driven past areas, leaving the office park that you have. And we have a lot of areas like that in this region, and I'm not supportive of more.
A lot of,
We have a lot of lay down, it looks like they're like industrial type of areas where they're storing materials on site, and I'm not supportive of that anymore. I'd like to put it to a better use or leave it at that type of use. That'd be one.
my struggle is, it's been that for 10 years. Doesn't have a use, or it's not being utilized. What we want may not be what the market currently wants. No one's building office basically these days. That's not to say it's not gonna come back, it will. I just, I'm trying to keep an open mind to it. I don't disagree that we like that we want better in the use. I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes with. Do they feel trapped with the use they have because they like a nursery? Or a contractor yard perhaps, because it could be that.
We don't know what they're gonna build there, so that's the problem.
And what are the other uses in W2 other than contract? That we don't really have.
So I could pull up the full permitted use chart, but here are the summaries for the industrial districts.
Is there any residential adjacent?
Yeah,
South.
You could,
I just think it might be useful to see the uses in W2.
okay.
Because the summary is helpful.
The chart shows them, all of them, then that way they can see one and two are.
Okay.
Might not be a good location for class A office for one reason or another, especially it's got wetlands and it might be one of those. It might be trapped in what you can do, what you do.
So can everybody see that then? Okay.
So we make their size.
Just so you know, special exceptions, and that's the SC, that's, they're not by right, you have to go to through a hearing office or.
If it's blank, it's not allowed, correct?
Correct.
So they think she would be to look at what's allowed in W2, it's not allowed in W1.
Right. So auto
Auto repair.
repair would work there in a W2, which doesn't work in W4.
Yeah, right.
You got code manufacturing, repair, book binding, bottling, brewery. So there's your contractor yard, right?
Yeah, but we're having a brewery. Yeah.
I mean, what type of brewery they
Well,
They're
this
trying to-
brewery is downsizing. so
Yeah,
I think we-
that's a nice
All right.
brewery though.
I'm gonna keep scrolling until we see some
Yeah,
differences between W1 and W2. So contractor, construction, shop,
Daycare.
distillery.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I didn't realize you could do brewery and distillery and W3.
Yeah, I wish we could know what kind of use they had in mind,
Right.
because I'd be supportive depending on what kind of use.
If they don't have, the application says there's not public sewer there.
It says 600 feet away.
That's
and
what-
they can't per-
Lumber yards, that's my job.
So we have enough.
Lumber yards.
Saying that.
Got enough building space.
keep in mind these uses that we're talking about, like a lumber yard, contractor yard, they pay decent taxes. And if it's in an area that is already industrial. It's. You're just asking for more flexibility in my mind.
This is the property owner that requested it. You know?
Yeah, yes, property owners or their agents are the only ones that can submit applications.
See, we say, because we put this label on this, it's nuisance. But it is in an area, it's not like it's residential and they're looking to turn it to W2, right? It's already in an industrial area, so it's not a huge deviation. If it was a nuisance use.
I mean, it does give a lot of options.
Yeah.
Other stuff.
Right.
There's some good uses there, but
Right.
what are they gonna use it for?
It's kind of chicken and egg, right?
That's too, but you know, and then again, it could be preventing. Something that could be beneficial, that could be paying a lot of taxes, and it's not like we're ripping out, you know, beautiful bucolic splendor. To
Right.
put in a brickyard or
The
something.
county needs those kind of areas. The question is it the right place for that kind of use area?
And it's in a critical economic development area too, so it's meant to be.
Can we put a caveat?
The other thing to keep in mind is that. Because there's so many environmental regulations, I mean, you're gonna have forest, it looked like it was a lot of it was forested.
Already forced.
Yeah, they're gonna have to maintain a lot of that forest,
Especially if there's wetlands too.
and there's wetlands, there's probably buffers and. It's probably the reason they want W2 is you probably only have so much that's usable. And that just gives them more options to use that little bit.
Right, that's what I meant about getting trapped.
So what the OPZ recommendation is based off of what the.
That's true, yeah, OPZ recommended staying. But
Right, the SAC still has their recommendation. So during when we had our public comment tool open,
Mhm.
you saw that there was a pop-up that came up and it said SAC recommendation, OPZ recommendation. So we don't have to be in agreement on this. It's your recommendation.
But your recommendation was based off of.
Taking into account the uses, and then you would have these pockets of W2 in an otherwise W1 zoning district. So I'm just trying to,
So for consistency purposes.
Mhm.
Where is it again?
yeah. When I had it on my other screen, I did have my layers on the left-hand side, so let me bring up zoning here.
But which site?
Is this on Leech Road?
It's right here. in the
Oh,
middle.
right there, I see it. What are these next to it? The one to the right. Yeah,
So it'll come up in here.
Yes, there's already some.
Right,
see this stream they're talking about, that's that. Dead area.
So until this other layer comes up. It's just-
What, they just have forest there right now? It's just.
Looks like a building.
There is sorry, it's actually on this side right here. There's a vacant, or I should say a wooded lot and a lot that's improved with a house. Single family house.
You had that stream thing up, can you turn that back on?
Yeah, or well.
Cause it looks like they might, to the north and south of their property have streams, so they're only probably able to develop that little tiny piece in the middle.
Around the house.
Yeah.
I apologize, I'm just waiting for this to load.
It looks like that could be one.
This is a Red Roof Inn right here.
What's to the right? That's the right. hotel.
Don't move it.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, it's like it's.
Yeah.
What's that?
Don't move it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You just move it any faster.
A little bit.
Okay.
I just don't see. I don't see the detriment to granting
The W2.
the W2.
Yeah, when you're looking at everything else around it, it's now, you know, it's not like there's that much more residential around it.
That's where you're sensitive, right? If there's residential around it.
If you want to look at certain things.
Yeah.
Right, and it is by a freeway, so it helps buffer
Yes,
that as well.
Yeah,
And I mean, that's one single house, maybe they just want to be a hermit or something, I don't know.
No, the property with the house has the application in, so the house is getting torn down, right, for the property to be developed.
yeah, so they're gonna put a,
Probably an old beat up house.
And I believe the property to the north is MDOT. That's it.
And the house is non-conforming right now, because it's sitting on W1 land as it is.
You can turn that, Sam.
I think this might even, is this an airport zone? I think
It is within the BWI.
There's
What's that
like,
noise then?
yeah, there's the noise zones in the airport around and they cross over Route 100. and you see those
Yeah,
maps.
I don't think anybody's gonna wanna build like a daycare center or anything like that.
Probably isn't a bad, I mean, it probably isn't a bad area for that use.
For that use, but what I'm saying is, I don't think that I don't see. I don't really see a detriment to granting that W2.
I agree.
Yeah, I would.
And again, higher revenue, I mean, we want the money.
Well, especially if we could put that land to use, and for some reason right now, W1, again, it's been that for a long time. It's not getting put to use for whatever reason that is.
It is critical economics.
so I mean, we don't. So since this will be a motion, but we don't need consensus, we don't have to be unanimous. So if someone wants to make a motion either way. And let's do each one separately, let's not do both. Just
Okay,
right, for clean sake,
Mhm.
right? So it would be for application 1001,
Mhm.
we need a motion and then we would need one for 002. Even though I know they're compared, but I don't want there to be an issue later where like you should have done separate, you can redo it, so.
Are they there? They're different products.
Well, yeah, I just didn't want people, because they see them on here to say, do them both, yeah, I want.
Right, I got you.
okay.
And so the question too, that is if you do look at rezone or recommending this area, these two properties, sorry. Jessup 1 to go to W2. Do you recommend any of the surrounding properties to go to W2? Just to sort of look at this comprehensively, right?
No, that makes sense.
I move that we approve Jessup 001 to go to W2.
Barely seconds. All right. Any other discussion?
Well, I do agree with Mark. I mean, the area closest to the Route 100 doesn't make sense. I know some of it's built, but it doesn't make sense for it to be sort of a W, like that transition, you know, you have the highway, you have your W2, you have your W1, you know, how you try to transition away from a highway.
Is that some sort of wetland or pond there?
This area here,
I know, it's-
that's,
Here's land.
is it, you know, looks like.
I mean, it makes sense from a transition perspective, but MDOT owns it, it's not really buildable.
I'm just gonna refresh this. Again, I'm frustrated with it.
You're still way ahead of 3 to 4.
I mean, for myself, just discussion, I mean, I think seeing everything else that's around it, I mean, I think it makes sense to allow there to be a little bit more flexibility since they're looking to add more options there. I don't think it's gonna really disrupt the rest of the surrounding area.
So my recommendation, just from a procedural standpoint, is have a vote on Jessup 1, and then if you want to talk about the surrounding areas, do that and vote on that. Okay.
Yeah, it is. See the airport to the right. Yeah, it's part of that.
Yeah.
Isn't the 4 mile district, I don't think the airport noise.
Yeah, it's the noise zone that's.
I'm not trying to rush into it, was there something?
There is the
folks would like
noise
to
zone
see? Okay,
Okay, there's.
in part of it.
No. Well, what's that? Is that noise and going to the residential?
As long as you give them notice that it is.
So go back to the zone. There we go.
that's,
W1, where the W1 is. There's 2 parcels.
yeah. the
There's
other
one,
part
it's
is that.
down off the place.
Yeah, it's right there.
Oh, there's
That's
2
the
there,
one where the
yeah.
One is, isn't that where one parcel is from that?
No, it's down.
It's
um,
down.
It's
Like
south
close.
of that, all the stuff.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so this is that one.
that's the one for W1. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where the house is.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Then the land above that is Department of Transportation,
Okay.
so that. Nothing can be done there.
Yeah.
What happened is a long time ago when the airport designated all the noise zone. That this sort of area around the airport, they made them all W1. So that's why you're seeing properties with old single family homes in it, because it was residential a long time ago.
But then they're like, hey, we don't want people suing.
The noise and the planes and all
Whatever
that.
they could, I mean, they zoned it all W1, they tried to buy as much as they could.
They
in the
did.
noise zone. So I so much around this area is owned by MDOT,
Yeah.
and you have a lot of non-conforming.
And that was like 30 years ago.
But it looks like it's still, I'm seeing R1, so that's behind, so R1 is abutting kind of like where that property is a little.
It's like it's across
South
the street, right?
So will they be able to still see if somebody built like a yard there for storage? The houses that are there?
True, but they're gonna see everything else too.
A warehouse.
The warehouse and everything that's already existing are already looking at it.
There are landscaping
Can you put
standards.
the noise zone layer back on, because if it overlaps
Yeah,
that
it went in
residential,
that.
you can't build a house on.
It went in that corner, I thought I saw. Yeah.
Yes, you can't do residential without.
But yeah, I think the concern was just bringing more industrial
Yeah.
close to the existing. I mean, it's already industrial.
Yeah.
And it's close to the freeway. So you recommended a vote.
So I think Marilee had a second on.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have the motion to approve it to W2. I've just been letting discuss.
Yeah.
I'm trying to rush discussion. So when folks are ready to vote, I didn't want, because they were pulling things up, I didn't want, so if everybody's. Feels like they have the information they need for market.
You know, about that stream thing.
Oh, I can, yes, I'm sorry.
I think I might solve a little bit, because I think you're.
I thought you requested earlier, but it's like.
Oh, the screen is.
Yeah, so the nearest stream is to the southwest there.
A little bit of wetland up.
Just on the MDOT property.
By the highway.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? No, okay, so we'll go ahead. So if you are in voting and approving, moving it from W1 to W2. Right, just raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're opposed, raise your hand.
What if you abstain?
Oh, you can abstain, that's fine, yeah. So then are you opposed?
Yeah, one will give it as W.
Okay, W1, and then is there an extension?
Yeah, I just wanna know if they kind of.
Okay.
Like, I'd be
So
supportive.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 votes yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. It's approved. Recommend, sorry. Yeah, I was like, wait, I don't know. I gave it. Yeah, no.
Oh, and for the benefit, at the end, I'll go through the final steps here of this region plan
Yeah,
process, so,
So recommended by this.
recommend.
Motion to approve Jessup 002.
Yeah, that was off the page.
Oh, did you want to look at any of the adjacent properties again, just so that this isn't necessarily sort of a spot zone or standing off by itself? If not, I'll move down to Jessup.
Again, I, transition, it is nice to have, like, if you did the W2, it'd be along the highway.
So like if
That's
MDOT gave it
MDOT
up
property.
and then you want to have a contiguous use next to it.
Right, exactly.
I'd be open to that.
Okay, so Jessup 2 then is the
IDPs in it.
yeah, it's the second
Yeah.
one.
Is this for you guys? I'm sorry.
Oh, you
If,
can have.
if everybody's good, yeah, then
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
so it's this, let me see if I can draw it again in here. Is the second, so it's part of this sort of last undeveloped area. These are single family homes and then it's like a ton
Yeah, no.
outdoor storage area at the end of the street. So the property here is this one right here.
Our request is from us.
And the request is from W1 to W2.
How long have those houses been?
Like, before it was rezoned the one, but it's been a long,
Probably 50 years.
yeah, they're all non-conforming,
They're not conforming.
whether it's one or two, it just. They might even be businesses, a lot of those homes are converted to business.
So I will move to keep it
And I
W1.
second that.
Second by Keisha. Okay.
That's a little more random.
Yeah, this
Oh, I
one's
thought
usually-
More isolated.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so I think we can vote quickly on this one. So all approval of keeping it W1, okay, that's unanimous vote. Okay,
So can we go back to maybe that?
Yeah.
district?
sure. So then now talking about, as Mark was saying, since we're gonna move that one to W2, is there other parcels next to it that should be upzoned to be more consistent, correct?
Right, and so the remaining properties on this, what's called a block, are these two to the south, and then this MDOT property to the north.
I'm not sure I'd go south necessarily, because you're getting close to R1, I think I'd go east-west.
I could see that triangular piece directly adjacent to it, not the one up against the road.
But that's directly abutting R1. The one, the triangular piece to the left,
Except there's Faulkner Road separated.
Yeah,
but it's still in their purview, like they'd still be able to see what's there.
oh, look at this, they know it's there already. They're in the middle of an industrial area, right?
East to the north, with above the highway.
Yeah.
It's the MDOT property. W2.
I'm not.
What is that?
So this is the sort of ground truth, what the actual use is, and so yellow is residential. And your gray is vacant.
Hmm.
So just to give you, I just wanted to verify to see see if these are coming up as, like you said, maybe somebody's running a home occupation or an office out of the house, or whether it is being used as a principal for any residence.
So where you have the cursor now marked out.
Yes,
So that, I think what we're talking about is possibly moving that to W2, correct? Okay. So it would be consistent.
and again, the idea would be, since it's NDOT's property, they can do what they want, but it's only like if it gets surplus, then.
Or maybe a piece of it can surplus one day to keep it well.
So does anyone feel strongly to make that motion, or do we feel like?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Thomas makes the motion.
Motion for that property to go to W2.
W2. Mary Lee will second, okay. Any other discussion or thoughts? Vote, everybody in favor? Aye, in favor. 5 opposed,
Abstain. Can I abstain?
okay, so 5 yeses, 2 abstentions, recommendation.
Okay. Then looking in the central Jessup area, put it back on slideshow. We had 2 applications. Again, we'll tackle one at a time here. Is Jessup 3, which is an R1 zone property adjacent to the park. Their request is to go from R1 to R2. And likewise with the other property here, just north of the Magnolia Creek subdivision, to go from R1 to R2. So I'll jump back over to the interactive map and we can dig into Jessup 3 to start. So it's this property here. And the request is R1 to R2.
That's 03.
Yes.
Is it out water and sewer?
No.
It's fixing that OS.
Yes, that is. Like we said, when we were doing our mapping exercise in March, we're correcting the lines, the zoning lines to fit the parcel lines. Yeah. Okay.
So isn't there like a substantial difference with R1 and R2 though?
You're getting roughly 2 units to the acre instead of 1.
How can you do that if there's no water, there's sewer there?
The density goes down if you're not public water and sewer. You actually get like 2.5 units per acre if you're public water and sewer.
Right.
Only 2 if you're well and septic.
But you never, just so you all know, you never get 2 units.
Right.
I mean, typically you don't get.
Once you take out open space requirements, forest conservation, all that, you can never achieve 2 units. Same with R1. If you were to develop an R1, it ends up being about like 0.6
0.6 to 0.7.
per acre. R2 is probably around 1.6 per acre. It's a shame, but that's reality. Now, older long ago, before all the forest come and all that, we probably could get it.
So one thing to keep in mind is if you do recommend rezoning this property to R2, you would have 1 property in this C of R1 that would be a different density. And again, I'm not sure if you want to then expand that R2, if you do recommend to approve it, expanding that R2, I think we've heard from the community that R1 fits just right for the Jessup area.
Yeah.
It seems like a spot rezone.
That's true, yes.
A motion not to approve.
Okay.
Second. Same third.
All in favor, no change, but yeah. All right, okay. Recommendation. This is keep it all.
Okay. And the same idea then when we go over here to Shipley Farm Road. It's this limited parcel here.
We do R2.
Correct, they went to, the request was from R1 to R2.
This isn't, yeah, no. I moved to keep it
Well,
the
they
same.
had, what did they say? They said it was because it was near, which one's Magnolia Creek?
It says it's the one just to the south there.
Oh, that's Magnolia Creek.
Do they get sewer now that Magnolia Creek's in?
Oh, that's. Yeah, I mean, maybe that whole thing. Magnolia Creek is R1.
There was a bill put in that gave them some flexibility with the density.
Well, they're clustered.
That's right. That's part of it.
So is it the piece next to Magnolia or no, it's the piece above?
It's this,
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Guess the point we'll find, if you can get water and sewer out there, public water and sewer, you may want to open up.
That-
My only
to-
question was like, if that new
to larger-
subdivision came in and brought infrastructure to the area, it maybe didn't have it, or it might be worth looking at it. but that's why I
Right.
asked. It looks like they have a CPO or something that goes down the public lane.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I would make a motion to keep it R1.
Second.
Seconded by Karen. Any discussion?
In favor.
So we can see the sewer one.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah, it-
Well, we're still in discussion mode, we're not.
I'm just curious.
the thing is it's, there we go. It was telling me it is keep zooming in, and obviously when you do that, then you lose sewer rates.
But maybe there's some,
Yeah,
maybe there's some area that you can consider, yeah.
So do you want to see where it comes out to the street or?
Or just, I was more just curious if the property requesting the zoning would have access to this.
Okay,
it will only let you show a little piece.
yeah, 'cause if I zoom out one more, it's gonna say zoom in. And again, it's. So,
I'll just pull engineering plan up, they based it all on,
So the sewer line right there, that green?
I mean, sure in the whole.
so Sam, is it this property here?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, they're next to W.
The one right below it, so,
this one.
yeah, that one.
Okay,
So that might be access to sewer.
I actually feel bad for the person that owns that piece that's landlocked directly. Like, how are you doing big with that?
it is.
Oh, they are, okay, thank God.
Same owner as the subject parcel,
The one
So
above
the-
it,
yeah.
Yeah.
not the subject is.
Not the
different.
These two.
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
So all of those. Where's your,
Any other discussion?
I mean, just a thought, I mean, I don't know much about this area, but. We don't have a lot of single family detached housing in the county. And going to R2, like I said, they're not gonna get R2. You're gonna have 30% of it open space plus forest cover. It might just make it a little more affordable to do single family detached. The problem is you see towns because. It's, you can get more and it's more affordable. It's just a thought, if there is sewer there, could that area right there with R2?
Yeah, more than just the subject.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Just one.
Right, and I would agree with that. Spot rezoning doesn't make sense, but if you're gonna look at more of them. That would, or may.
you can almost take that piece that's next to what is it called? Magnolia Creek and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
rectangle.
pieces above it, yeah, and make it all ours.
So is Magnolia Creek, you said it's R1, so is
But
that,
it's clustered, so.
is that more parcels, so it's per acre, like more than 2 per acre? Is that what that is?
More than
More than one.
More than one, and what's the price point there
I don't
for
know.
homes?
I think those started in the 6s and ended in the
Yeah.
8s.
That's,
It's going.
We want to promote more single family homes in this community. That's really the question, because I don't think we're just talking about one parcel. If we're voting on the one parcel, that feels like a spot rezoning. We'd be talking about this chunk of 4 or 5, however many. I could see that me wanting to develop 2 units an acre out there.
And you can't do towns in R2, it's only.
Right, it's not gonna get super dense. Half acre lots, basically, that's what you're talking about.
OPZ recommended the state of R1, correct?
For the one part.
R1,
Yeah, for the one parcel.
right. A recommendation would be R1 for this area. For any surrounding properties as well.
Going back to those meetings when we're having a bunch of input from that area. Y'all recall what the consensus was?
We've heard R1 to keep R1.
But by the way, you see where the R1 is on the other side where it's all red and. Are those all 1 acre lots basically? Because right now, the land on the left could develop like the land on the right in 1 acre lots, right? It could,
I think those are all well and second lots. And whatever.
right? Well, I guess my only point is they can already put,
They're happy.
well, is to have 1 acre lots out there if they wanted to band together.
But they're happy.
Yeah,
Those are half acre lots?
roughly half acre now.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so that,
That would be in keeping with it, but wouldn't get that many.
well, is that non-conforming then? That's R1. You got half acre lots.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, how did that happen? Maybe it's
It's
old,
probably an old subdivision.
but for consistency, with that on the right, that could go over to the left. Is that what is desired for this community or not?
But
I don't know.
that's why I asked for.
Yeah.
What's the.
But if the consensus is keeping R1, but they're living in half acre lots, it doesn't quite.
It's like, oh, that's not conforming to the right. You almost, well, to make it conforming, you almost wanna put on R2.
I guess my main concern, I agree in terms of to have it conform with R2 if you're already not abiding by the 1 acre rule, but. My concern is the price point of like whatever's gonna be developed there. That's $600,000 homes are not affordable for a lot of people. And we have a housing shortage in the community, so
So the solution is to leave it at R1 and not do anything?
not necessarily, but I just don't want a developer to come in and put $600,000 houses there.
What do you want a developer to do?
Make something affordable. So what would be supportive of making an affordable area for people to live in?
Small lot.
More dense.
Right,
Because
more
the
than
big lots, like this R1, they're gonna come in and build, big mansions.
Yeah, the more that supply is constrained, the less
The bigger the
flexibility.
houses are.
Did you understand that point? That's a very, very good point. Say it again?
Generally, the more supply is constrained, the less flexibility there is in places, there's just not that many housing options. It's kind of like what we're feeling today, there's not that many existing homes on the market, so the ones that are for sale tend to be overpriced.
Already right now, they can do 1 acre lots. And I would suggest, to that point, that would be more expensive than doing half acre lots. if a developer wanted to do so.
Going back to, it's a spot zoning piece, the other places haven't asked for it. We've heard from the citizens there that they'd like it to stay R1. I don't think we should be making a recommendation outside of what we've already heard.
What about for the half acre lots?
No, I mean,
Did you give that R2?
Well, what happens
Because it is.
if the non-conforming use stays non-conforming?
They have a hard time doing work on their homes, I think, like the petitions and stuff, don't they? Is there non-conforming?
I think non-conforming may be incorrect, they're substandard lots, so you get
Right.
an idea with setbacks and structure coverage, but it is conforming because they are residential uses.
In a
and
residential
houses.
God, so
Substandard.
Yeah, you have a minimum lot size and
they're less.
Right.
property line length, so because they're all half acre in an R1. They get a lot more leeway with structure coverage and setbacks and stuff.
So then they could still apply that to the other parcel one, with that R1 that we're trying to vote on, they could still do something similar on that side?
No, because in order to subdivide, if you were to propose substandard lots in R1, they would immediately say no, because you have to hit your minimum sizes for your R1 lots.
Probably a long time ago, a lot of these subdivisions happened before 52 when subdivision rights came in. So they probably just,
They're having bigger.
yeah, they probably just divided them all up into a bunch of half acres and that's how it went. That's what it looks like, one of those kind of.
So why don't we take I would have a motion to leave the original request R1, but a second motion, all the stuff on the right side, all those little lots that are already half acre lots, my motion is make that R2.
So I think you already had a motion.
Yes.
but-
yeah, we have only the first one, yeah.
Keisha seconded.
So, but it sounds like,
A whole bunch of motions right there.
yeah. Okay, so let's vote on that one parcel. My motion was to keep it R1. That's
Jessup 4.
Jessup 4, keep it R1. So who's in favor of keeping it R1? Yeah. Oh, Mary Lee, okay, so.
Sorry.
No, so that's not, okay, so that recommendation was for to keep 004 as R1. So now the next discussion piece with no motion, but possible motion is all of these other parcel areas, is this an area where we would consider changing the zoning to make it more conforming?
Correct.
What changes, if any, could that yield if we allow that for this one parcel here?
Well, like all of those.
Nothing. You could potentially then be setting off adjacent properties to make an argument that we're adjacent to
Right.
R2, and then have this sort of R2 creep them throughout Jessup, right?
Okay. And it sounds to me like Jessup is an area that does not want more R2. The community members have said that, okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
That's not. Yeah, I'm just like, leave it.
Yeah.
I just
They
feel like
don't want it,
they don't want, yeah, I agree that it's not clear.
There's no overwhelming benefit to change it. And I agree with the concept that if there's a benefit to make it R2, we can consider it, but if we're hearing that there's no overwhelming benefit to change it up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of indifferent.
Let the sleeping dogs lie.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay. Then, this is a larger one that we can. Let's break it down, right? So the Champion Forest property is. Is this large rectangle here, okay? In Plan 2040, the plan land use changed to commercial. And again, remember, Plan 2040 didn't make any recommendations on zoning, it was just plan land use. So the intent then behind that action to change the plan land use to commercial was to ultimately have this zoned as commercial in this region plan process. So that's the action that was then proposed when we reviewed these maps in March, was to designate it as C1 to bring it into consistency with the planned land use. So then when the initial draft zoning map was out for public comment, we received one comment for and one comment agreeing with the zoning, one comment disagreeing with the zoning. So again, just want to bring that up to you all. OPZ's recommendation is to maintain it as C1. And again, because there was just that recent decision in Plan 2040 to change it to commercial, so the idea would be, unless there's probably overwhelming evidence to turn the planned land use back to residential and then apply as the zoning district, or your other option is to choose a different commercial zoning district.
But none of these were applications, they're just.
Correct.
Spots, yeah, so we don't need to vote on that.
Correct.
You can keep it as C1.
You can keep it as C1, right? For these public comments,
These are
you
just someone's comments.
you don't need to make a motion, you don't need to take an action on each of these. You may if you both. Right?
And what was what was the person that said they didn't want the C1 one? What did they want?
Let me go back to sorry. I have a million tabs open here. So clicking on that comment, can you all read that? Can I blow this up?
Yeah.
Oh, they want R1.
Is that R1?
No.
So that was what I was saying is you would have to change the planned land use back to a level of residential designation and then apply a zoning district to it. But again, because there was the change in Plan 2040, probably want to go in that direction.
Plus, this area back there, isn't there a planned road?
There,
Waste road relocation.
Yeah.
yeah,
Race Road's being relocated and.
so Race Road would be dead-ended here, and then, and Jim, you may know more too, is Race Road would continue along sort of this east-west paper road.
And then tie into Champion Fork.
Right.
I don't think there's a layer, yeah, there's the new Jessup Elementary.
Right. Mhm.
And so it's the piece that,
It's this piece here,
right.
So it would effectively bring a county standard road across its frontage.
right,
Eventually.
essentially. There is a capital project for it, so it is in the works.
They moved to C1.
But this was when we were doing the big map on the table, we talked about this, right? Y'all agreed on it?
Yeah.
And so I feel like we spent a lot of time talking.
It is.
And I hope, again, is,
Yeah.
in these lead up emails to this meeting, I indicated to check out this map, to look over it in the comments to see if, because I don't know if you want to go through every comment, but
Yeah.
I let you all do that on your time and then sort of generalize,
Yeah, exactly.
or summarize some of these comments as well.
Yeah.
So,
I just feel like we spent a lot of time during those two meetings, really pouring over these, so
okay,
I don't want everybody to get too much.
should I move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the next item is the small business zone properties. So it is this this diagonal line north of 175, and then you've got an additional property here on the south side. And so the thought there was, again, the comment to rezone those properties to R1 and have a neighborhood preservation development policy area. And this is one item that OPZ, when we looked at these maps again, we might make the recommendation to change it to C1 because we've been hearing that small business does not work. The small business zoning district does not work.
It doesn't work.
So So this would be a recommendation from a new recommendation from OPZ to change it to C1. I'll go back to the interactive
I
map here.
thought we did recommend to change that from the small business, were we not?
Well, we're talking about extending mixed use down there.
The planned land use,
So,
yeah.
Well, zoning too, ultimately, right?
So this is the existing zoning map. That's why you still see some of these parcels being split zone. But everything south of 175 from here will be W1. So this diagonal line here, as well as this small area of R1.
So did we say mixed use on both sides or just the south side?
Let me bring up,
wasn't Kevin talking about some of the houses on the south side of 175?
Yeah, he was all for the mixed use, if I recall.
Yeah,
give me 1 second.
you all wanted.
But it was only on the south side, right?
Yeah.
And then commercial on the north side, right? That's what I thought.
So this map is also within that the public review tool. And you'll see that this area here is that mixed use planned land use that we talked about. And while there is this gap, it's because it's that correctional facility, right? So we had to follow the parcel lines, and that's why you see it sort of break there.
Yeah.
But I thought we said we would make it all, even though it's correctional. Because in the future, you know, they didn't use that, they don't use that, right, up there?
Those, what did Kevin say, those garden houses or employee housing in general? Right.
Okay. And then blue is the school on the north.
I'm sorry, yes, correct, yeah. And then this notch down here is the county owned property
Isn't that being transferred?
to the Jessup Baptist Church.
Oh.
It was a land swap to help with the intersection improvement. At Redbud,
So blue is,
public use, land
so we need to
use.
change that then. I don't think they want to be public use.
Right. So
These are common.
these are comments, right?
Yes, we don't need it
Yeah.
to take an action and not vote.
So we can leave that as C1, leave that as W1, and then the future overlay or whatever, and what do we call it, land use is gonna show it as mixed use on the south. Right? And
For planned land use or zoning.
land use,
Um, Okay, so. You're making a motion to change,
no, I'm saying, this is the recommended zoning, right?
this is the planned land use.
Oh, this is land use,
They can't give it a mixed use zone yet.
but this is land use, I thought the whole thing was, the land use was gonna show this mixed use.
We are,
That's
this is planned land use,
the grayish hatch. on this plan.
yeah,
It's on
On
it. On it.
okay. So the one question OPZ has is. Again, is we would recommend that's those small business parcels. Change to C1,
And I think that's what we had said earlier.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, you want to see?
let's do another motion just to get on the record here,
Okay,
yeah, even if it's redundant, then,
okay, so Marilee motions to move it to C1.
okay.
For a second. Second. Okay, Thomas seconds. Any further discussion? Voting in favor?
So wait, just to clarify, did we recommend mixed use for that, or was it?
So again, zoning,
I think the zoning and land use screwed us up. there.
Oh, okay.
yeah. So where do I want to start? This is the zoning, current zoning map, so just pretend that these southern pieces, what we put out to the public is W1. What was still remaining on the map that went out to the public was this northern piece that was still diagonally lined, which is small business. And again, when OPZ, when we looked at this again, and again, hearing from the public that small business doesn't work, we're now recommending that this be changed to C1.
Okay, I see.
And that makes it contiguous with the side from the east.
Yeah.
And where's that, the Baptist church in here?
Baptist churches,
So it would become C1
yes,
and churches.
I think they are. I think with religious institutions, there's a lot of leeway,
Yeah.
right?
So they'd still be conforming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had a motion.
Yeah, I think we had anybody voting against it,
Okay.
so that.
Motion to eliminate small business.
Well, is anybody abstaining from the vote, just for clarity?
No.
We were all in favor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so still working along the Jessup corridor here. At National Business Park and the Maryland 175 intersection, the southwest intersection. The comment was to maintain the split zone property. And again, OPZ's recommendation is what was proposed as W1. So let me go back to a map here. So this map is what is currently being proposed. And this is W1 here. The existing zoning is this small business split zone and residential. Okay, so again, the comment was keep it as the existing, not this proposed. Everybody follow?
Keep it as W1.
No, keep it as small business.
Oh, small.
Split zone,
Okay.
small business.
W1, all, yeah.
No.
Okay. Okay. Then, the last comment was sort of this entire Maryland 175 corridor west of National Business Parkway, and the desire to keep these properties as R1, which is what is currently being proposed. Just to show you that. So again, R1 zoning is still being proposed. And keep it as low density residential planned land use. So this is where that change comes into play, where it's now the planned land use is being changed to mixed use or being proposed. So the first comment is they want to keep it R1 and we are keeping it R1. Second comment is they want to keep the planned land use, low density residential. The SAC has recommended mixed use planned land use. So the question is to keep this as a planned land use mixed use or to revert it back to low density residential.
You can still put housing in mixed use, right? Okay.
Once again, we had spent a lot of time talking about this.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And then a neighborhood preservation development policy area. Merrily, we hear your comment about mixed use zoning districts, development policy area. We need to work with the other teams so that it's not just a region 2 designation, that it can then, if we're having this, working through this issue, we want to make sure that the other regions can apply whatever we decide on here, so that we're not deciding on one thing, they're deciding on another thing that is really the same thing. So, so hold tight, we're working on it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, all good with Jessup?
Yeah.
All right, you guys need a break. So the next application, we're proposing R10 and they want to keep it as R10.
Motion to.
This is 5.
This is just
005, yeah, motion, I will motion to maintain it as R ten.
Yeah.
Tricia, I vote yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
any no's?
very good, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so jumping up to that northern Hanover area by Route 100. It's up to Joe.
What was it?
With brick.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, so,
So we are about halfway done.
yeah, okay, yeah, so we'll take a 10-minute break, 7:36.
Okay, that's why we have minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
We can restart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
It's also recorded, it's like.
okay, so again, what's proposed is R10. The request is to go up to resume recording, too many buttons there. Okay, for recording, we're off mute. Okay, so again, proposed zoning is R10. The application was to upzone it to R15. And our recommendation is R10. So do you want me to go back over here to the interactive map and
Yeah.
give you some context? So current zoning, existing zoning is R1. And the proposed was to put it at R10.
And can you show the whole proposed, what we did on that whole,
Yeah.
like, sort of west side of Rock Ridge?
Uh-huh.
Cause I just like think about it as transition again. And I'm into transition, I guess. We got that railroad right there. It just, and I know we've been talking about trying to get more like affordable housing, and if we could do that sort of as a transition between the railroad and Brockridge is R15. Up,
Yeah.
all the way up, and then, you know, you transition to 10, and then you have the whole Oxbow that's a big buffer to any of the other, you know, residential to the east of it. And you got industrial above it, you got the racetrack below it. I mean, it seems like one of those transition zones, even where we change it to R5, you just wonder, should that whole area. And then it's going beyond what we're talking about there, the more I
Was
look
the
at it.
idea of the OPZ saying keep it R10 just because there would be spots on it, that would be the only, the rest of it boundaries R10.
We would understand if you were to do R15 because of that type of transition
Yeah.
and the R10 is already then built up against the Oxbow. To the west is
It's not Howard County line, right?
Yeah,
Howard County, and
It's
you've got
industrial.
industrial uses.
it's very industrial.
And then again, whatever may happen at Laurel Racetrack,
Right,
I don't know.
it just seems like a good, because you could, you know, get maybe small family in there, I mean. Hopefully they fix the train station, that horrible train
That
station.
platform, I wouldn't call it.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, boards, really,
So-
like walking, biking distance, it would be really a nice. Way to travel. It's just an observation now.
I'm sorry, I can go either way. I mean, I don't.
Hmm.
Does anybody? Everybody's not to do it.
I mean, I would recommend going R15 and then after that, I recommend moving up and having.
R10 all the way.
R15 the whole.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Well, most of it's been built already.
But it's already R10, right?
R10 here
That
and
one,
then,
little, but the rest of it,
Why would you go to R15 up there though?
because you have that same transition, it's a railroad line the whole way. You got Brockridge, you got water and sewer, it's like,
What's it? This is the area that was,
Industrial.
there was like lots of wetland, there was like lots of water.
that's.
Yeah, that's.
The free-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Oxbow, right?
That-
Yeah, but I remember
that's-
even before we were looking into R5, so there was still like, when we looked at floodplains.
Oh,
wasn't this
that's
area
where,
that was
you see the W2.
Yeah, it is.
There's a
Floods a lot.
floodplain.
river there.
Yeah, river.
But
Yeah,
it
there's
also
something here
sits
that's-
where when it rains, it does settle at that area between the church and the,
Yeah, just, I remember we were looking this earlier on the map, we were like, there was a problem with this being too wet.
no, it does, it floods, and I
In the
mean,
low area.
what you can't,
Where the W2 and the R5 connect,
Gotcha.
there's
Okay.
a stream.
Yeah, but it also, the way it is, the way that it dips, the water pools there and they put the little gates, so sometimes it's not passable. Meaning if somebody's back there, they, you know, they can go out maybe that way, but not the other way, so it'll limit. Or impede if there's water there.
Because the other thing we could do is
And they have overhead.
recommend to keep it R10, and then if someone had a specific plan for R15, they could then, you know, apply for that through the channels to get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just keep that one parcel R10 that you're talking.
I'm saying just keep it status, but we recommend status quo, and then if someone really has something and they want to move it, then they can make the case. With the other pieces versus us changing everything,
Yeah, I agree.
especially because we don't know, we still what's happening.
Okay. So
Sorry, I
for,
haven't made a
Yeah.
I'm late, sorry, so if someone wants to make a motion either way,
for the application
for the,
itself,
yeah, for the application itself. Because we've already set R10, but they want to go up to R15, so. This is our,
I'd make the motion to go to R15.
so we have a motion to move it to R15.
But then isn't that just gonna, like you said before, it's gonna kind of creep into everybody's gonna around there, want to do like an R15?
not necessarily because you do, it is built here. And it's built here, so to jump. For this person where it's proposed R10, for example, and it's not built, to make the case for R15 probably isn't that strong, because they're broken up by these existing townhomes.
So which parcel are we trying to vote for?
Yep, so
I think it's 5 of them or something.
correct, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's C4 there.
This is, you know, this is just one of those remnants that get caught up in the GIS analysis that picked up the C4 in a right of way. And for some reason it's carried here, so disregard the C4 there,
Did that Zach go away when you put him in that?
Yeah. we will. Yeah.
What are you doing with the roads? Like, are you?
We meet it at the center line,
Oh,
and
that's what
it's. God bless our GIS folks who are doing that analysis
Sure.
to match it up, especially at intersections and then even not 90-degree intersections where it's.
So the
really
peak
wonky.
that's on the right bottom will also go to whatever.
Right, yeah, I mean, this C4, I'm not sure how it picked it up, because really this road, this right of way should be W1,
Yeah.
2.
Oh, right across the street.
Yeah, so again, you see how it
Oh.
picked that up from the south,
That's weird.
disregard that for now.
So it's really just W1 and then. it goes-
Yeah,
I got you.
So we have a motion to move it to R15, so those in favor, raise your hands. Two, 3, 4, those opposed?
No, I'm not.
1, 2, oh, you're opposed, I think you voted for it.
I voted for it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I never voted again.
I'm voting against.
Oh, sorry, okay.
So we have 4, and then we have against.
I'm against.
so Ford was Merrily, Thomas,
I didn't vote.
He's not voting.
not voted,
Yeah, so we have 4.
4, okay?
If you are opposed, we have
Opposed to what?
opposed to, right now, yeah, we're saying R10, this is moving it to R10.
Okay. I want to keep that as R10. Okay.
Okay, so opposed.
But just to clarify, maybe before,
Yeah, sure.
like, when we were talking about affordable housing, what was the need that they had in terms of? Was it higher density units in order for them to build? Is that the problem they were running into?
Again, I think you can start building workforce housing as a use at R5. So again, any application that says we want to do R10. Until an application is actually, a development application is actually submitted, we don't know what their intent is.
Are they gonna be at the same price
So-
point as the ones across the track, because that's not workforce prices?
So if this is R10, they have the right to come in at market rate townhomes.
Again, the more you.
So, but again, the more supply you bring on, potentially.
We have more opportunity for affordability in these communities.
But it's not, but
Sorry.
does that mean if you put it at R15, is that like including apartments?
It
That's not affordable housing.
apartments aren't. affordable.
No, they're not. Apartments, no, I don't think they're affordable. It's not giving people home ownership opportunities, so no. I'm not
But
supportive.
but R15 works for townhomes, it works for apartments, it works for condos, it works for stack 2 or 2s.
What are the,
It gives the most options.
Gives the
right?
most, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it gives the most options, but are they, what is the price point that they're going to put
That
there?
we're not gonna know.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. Are we going to have the price point? Because if they're gonna say, okay, live, work, play, if you commute, hey, we're gonna put it up here because we want to attract a certain demographic here.
Well, just, whoever said it, the less units, the higher it's more.
The higher it is, but
Right,
if the point is to make it more density to attract more or to lower the price. I understand that, but I just don't, I'm just concerned that they're just going to, put the price up and it's not going to be affordable. It's not going to be workforce housing.
Yeah.
Because if they know, okay, the people who live here and who work here, they'll pay it. So we're gonna charge it. I mean,
for
a
the for the
developer,
market and then the people that don't, and. That's a developer responding to the market though. Whatever market wants to be there.
Mhm.
Now, because we can't specify, we'll give you the zoning if you give us exactly what we want. We've got to be a little bit more broad so that growth does occur here. We want that, we want growth here, right?
okay, yes, we do. Is there, I know, I don't care if anybody gets mad, is there like a four door option where if you zone, you can have a certain amount of affordable housings within a
That's-
unit?
and that's-
I know it's really nasty, but there are people who are on.
So I think there is that in Howard County. And Arundel County does not have that, but that's like a separate conversation.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
I was
more
just
like a-
wondering if
it's more
that
like
was
an
an option that
MPD
we.
or moderate
Yeah,
commercial dwelling unit.
So that's what happened at Haddock Point.
Okay.
So when we saw that, we heard that, and we were all like, oh, we've talked to.
But it's a great concern, it's a great suggestion, because I believe the way, and I work for an office group, so we have no interest in residential in general. But in order to get a residential group to do what you're asking, you give them a density bonus and say, all right, we'll give you added density if you provide certain percentage, pick a number, 10%, 20%, whatever. NPDUs, affordable units, something like that. It's a different discussion than this zoning. It needs to be had to your point and to your concern. But for this group,
It's
we
not,
want more housing options, because to the whole point, the more you constrain, the higher the prices are going. So we give more options, the more likelihood of getting affordable units there will be achieved.
okay, and
Especially
I-
because there's already a community there with high density, plus you're gonna have what possibly a redevelopment. of
Oh,
park.
I agree with, I understand that, but, and I'm not, what I'm saying is that it's, I'm sorry. Oh, no, there's not. I'm just bringing up that if this is gonna be bought up by these companies, Microsoft, they may want to cater to their employees who are going to pay more, and the whole thing about making it affordable. And that's just something to keep in mind.
It's a great
That I'm
concern,
bringing up, I'm not saying we can't because somebody
Yeah.
might not, or
Right.
might,
right?
but it's something that needs to be caught up because, hey, what can they sell this for?
Right, but for our group, by not doing that. We're keeping the housing, the odds are we're keeping the prices up. Right?
Yeah.
Right, so if we don't go to R15, just so we're all eyes wide open. We're constraining and the prices will be higher.
And that's why I wanted the R15, especially if it's right there.
Yeah, it's in one of those trends.
Yeah.
You could move forward on MPD program. Much for a program like that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, if in not doing it, there's gonna be a detriment, so there'll be more of a detriment to not pushing it to R 10, whatever.
R15.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Then keep it where it's at. Okay, so I'll change my vote and I'll vote.
Okay.
I mean, there is talk of, you know, county doing what do they call it? Thank you.
So what do we need to do to get that going?
It's a different group. Yeah.
Get
there's-
together again and do that.
It's a countywide thing.
Okay.
Okay,
Do you wanna-
so now the vote's been changed, it seems like we have 8-0 in favor of
As
change.
long as they're.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. Jim, okay, so I'm sorry, so 7 in favor, Jim abstains. Yeah. Thank you, sorry.
Okay,
That's what I wanted to do. Can you put the additional?
No.
Because we're not like, we're just making a recommendation, it's not like that. We're not approving.
okay. So those are all the applications and again, the substantive comments. So if everybody's good, we can move on to the next agenda item and finish up here. Okay, so again, just always want to remind everybody where we are in this process and what the next steps are and when there are future opportunities for the public to comment. So our discussion here will help inform the preliminary draft zoning map. Okay, and we plan on putting that out to the public in late July, early August. So there will be an opportunity for the public to comment on the zoning applications as well as just the general updated zoning map at that time. The public will also have the actual full draft document so you can see the strategies, introductory language, just setting some context, and you'll see the whole plan at that time, the end of the summer. Then OPZ, we will see those comments. We'll again summarize them. We'll come back to you all, discuss whether there need to be any changes. Then from that conversation, we develop a planning advisory board draft. That goes to the planning advisory board. They have their own public comment period as well. For everybody to comment on any piece of that plan. Then based on any recommendations the planning advisory board has, OPZ makes changes, we then prepare a county council draft. Another opportunity for the public to go to county council meetings and provide testimony. So at that point, then, if there are recommendations for rezoning properties, those properties will be posted. You'll see a sign on that property saying that there is a potential rezoning on that property
Council
at council. Mhm.
only changes.
Mhm. Okay. So looking at some firm dates here, we got through what we needed tonight. So we don't need that meeting next week that we had on.
Good work.
Hold on everybody's calendar. So in talking with Joe and Keisha, I know we had initially also put a hold on July 6th. But if we can push that back to July 13th, and that would be then for you all to review that preliminary draft of the region plan. So I've only heard from a couple people about meeting on July 13th, availability wise. So if you can, please let me know tonight or follow up in the email where I requested an RSVP. Okay,
If we don't have a quorum, we can't do
right. We would be here.
Here.
It's at the 7 library, 6:15 on July 13th. Yeah. Okay. So again, just to reiterate, then from our meeting there, whatever changes we may have, OPZ will update the document and be able to put that out for preliminary draft review. The way we'd be looking for comments is similar to the public review tool that was just launched for just the draft map. It would actually have the PDF of the plan, have the map, click on a dot, or you can leave a dot, leave a comment, so on and so forth. Very similar style is what we're designing. Then, like I said, is once we get comments and OPZ has a chance to review those, we'll meet with you all again. We plan on doing that in September. We don't have a date yet, just because there might be just a few comments, there might be a lot of comments, and we may need some time to review those. So we'll get a better handle of that sort of throughout early August to see how people are responding to the public review tool. We're getting a lot of comments. We may need to push that meeting back a little bit if we're feeling strong. Maybe it's a little earlier in September. Okay, and then again, just to reiterate, goes to the planning advisory board. That's a 2 to 4 week process. They recommend changes, and then it goes to county council, and that's a 2 to 3 month process. But I think most importantly is 2 more meetings.
Yeah.
Review preliminary draft comments, and then review the preliminary draft and then the comments from the public. 2 meetings.
Awesome.
Just a quick question. On the PAB
Mhm.
timing, that's just for this region, right? Is there a plan to do other regions at the same time, not to get off?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, depending upon when, the other regions meet with their committees and however many meetings they need to discuss any potential changes.
So this wouldn't like be held back because of others.
No, if region 2 is ready to go, we'll go to planning advisory board and the rest of the process. Yeah, in fact, it's probably more ideal if plans aren't being submitted to the PAB all at once for their insanity. And there's just a lot of public comment, right? I mean, this is zoning, so at these planning advisory boards, we would probably anticipate a lot of public comment.
The same with the comp zoning, region 2 could go ahead.
Mhm.
Where's comp zoning in there?
It's complementary to the plan. So when we're talking about the plan, we're talking about both those elements. The comp
So is
zoning,
it 2 legislative pieces?
it would
then?
be, yeah,
And when you call it preliminary plan or whatever you call it,
preliminary draft, yeah.
is that a report to also, or is it just mapping?
It would be the report, it's the full
Report, yeah.
document. Yeah, but it would be like Plan 2040, what you'd say there.
Right.
Yeah.
So how soon would we get that before the 13th?
We're looking at probably getting it to you a week beforehand. Most of the substance you've already seen. You've seen that we've already signed off on the draft strategies, the zoning map. We're just going to make those updates that we've talked about here. So the rest of it is kind of, we're going through providing some data, really data that's really up on the website, the hub site right now. Providing some additional narrative, sort of setting the stage. So of saying, this is what we've heard, and here are the strategies to address those issues or leverage those opportunities.
So the mapping in all this is gonna include a zoning map,
Mhm.
a land use map.
And development policy area map.
Okay, so we'll see all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Does that give you guys enough time to get done by the 7th?
Time.
Doesn't
Time.
seem like enough time for you.
Well, good news, they don't have a meeting next week to prepare. So we did our part.
I know.
All right, well,
You didn't have anything else to do, right?
Because you're not reading for
yeah, exactly. Hopefully, others.
Okay. So Joe, that's all I've got. And again, I'm not sure if there's any public comment. You want to take public comment?
Yeah.
And we might have some online.
Gary?
I agree with you, Ken. I listened to the comment tonight, and it was obvious that people here on this committee are not really familiar with everything you made decisions about. So Race Road was a good example. You're not familiar with who lives there, or houses have been rebuilt. You're zoning properties haphazardly, and you're not thinking about people that own houses there, have property there, and are pretty happy living there. And you upzone their property or the property across the street, that means that their property taxes go up. we've had that happen before, back in the smarter plan in 2004, people were shocked. The other comment that was made earlier was, well, we have to be cautious of somebody who's speaking for the community. Comments I made, were consistent with what the county collected using during Plan 24, which I was part of. It was consistent request from the citizen, and when the community college has done at least 2 surveys, and people don't want to develop. They don't want more traffic. They don't want more crime. The crime in this area is going up exponential. And now we have the federal government in here a week ago, the Environmental Protection Agency talking about breast cancer risk and risk to children in the elementary school because of chemical exposures. Jessup has a higher rate of cancer. I haven't heard you even discuss the appropriate, what kind of businesses, the county isn't even looking at, what kind of businesses should be next to homes or around. And we have a real problem. I mean, people are came to their public town hall meeting at the community hall. One gentleman says, yeah, 3 of my friends, we all live right on Montevideo Road. 3 of them have leukemia. We don't know why, but this is going on. And the federal government is now learning more and more about the dangers to residents that live next to industrial uses. We have one poor young fellow that says, I got 2 kids, they're elementary school, they're going to be in a school that's within 1,000 feet of one of these factories. I don't know what to do. Do I move out of Jessup? What do I do? I haven't heard any of these things considered. And but I think when you just go through a map and it's very impersonal and you make decisions on people's lives, I don't see you being very sensitive to it. And I hear this thing about affordable housing. We got to do more. Well, you heard what Fort Meade said, what Chad told you. They don't want barracks, more barracks built in Anne Arundel County. They want people that live at the port and making this big salaries like at Microsoft and others. They want to have a nice community. They want a yard, they want a place for the kids to grow and have a swing in the backyard, a barbecue. Having higher density without some sort of a control mechanism on the pricing is not going to get you affordable housing. There's people that are looking at other solutions where maybe Anne Arundel County needs a housing authority that manages the cost, the construction, and whatnot of putting together housing. But what we've seen is you give higher density, you think a developer is going to take and reduce the price from $1 million down to $200,000? Not very likely. And how are you going to subsidize that $800,000 difference between market price and affordable? Where's that money going to come from? I mean, let's be realistic. We need more some serious solutions, which you have not discussed in this last year, about how to get a $200,000 house that is affordable for people. Just and giving away the sword to developers, saying, oh, you can have R15, you can have R20, whatever you need. We'll just and the Brookings Institute
wrap it up, Gary.
has put that out there that they want to do away with local zoning. They don't want this kind of discussion. They don't want it at the state level. They want it at the federal level. Well, what do you think that's going to do for our communities and the quality of house? I think the main thing should be the quality of people's lives, the kids, not the profits to people who are in the back housing business.
Well, so I'll go ahead, just personal point of privilege, we'll address a few of those pieces. I mean, I think we've had very distinct conversations about this and talked a lot about it and looked over these maps I think we've all, spent those Saturdays and people talking about Jessup in particular and Kevin and Nicole. So I feel we've heard very, very much from the community and kept all of those thoughts in mind. And we've always had talks about affordable housing and those have been a key part of our conversations, and we know the limitations that we have and have worked, that's why we've had Councilman Smith here, Councilman Hummer here, and they're hearing that. And I know they'll work on that, but that is not the purview of the SAC. So just want to make those points. So with that, we have all public comment is finished.
So if you want to ask if anybody has any comments online, they can use the raise hand function and we can patch them in if you'd like.
There's some Q&A.
That's the, unmute your microphone, post,
Yeah, we really haven't done that in the past. Okay, so with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh,
Motion.
yeah, okay, Thomas makes the motion and Erica seconds. So with that, everybody say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, and we will see everybody in hot July.
Thank you, Joe.